here for Waterlogged on behalf of saltwateraquarium.com. This is part 2 of the commonly made mistakes that us aquarists make. Now, if you haven't seen part 1, 10 through 6, make sure to go back and watch that and hopefully prevent yourself from making any of those mistakes. But let's go ahead and get started with today's. Starting out at number 5 is cross-contamination. Now this really applies to you if you have multiple tanks that you are taking care of. So before you go and take care of one tank, you have your hands in one tank or any of the tools that you use in one tank and move them to the next, you want to make sure that you rinse them off. It might just be a tiny drop of water, but there's a lot of pathogens and things in that water that you can't see, and you don't want to transfer them from one tank to the next. That's just going to be a huge headache for you. So what can you do? Make sure that you're washing your hands with fresh water. You can go ahead and dry them off with those designated towels that I mentioned in the last video, and make sure you clean off your equipment as well. Now, something else that you can do if you don't want to have to be rinsing equipment off, because some of the stuff we use to take care of our tanks can be kind of bulky, is having a set of equipment for each of the tanks that you have. Like my tanks at home, I have individual siphons for each of my tanks so that I don't have to worry about this. All right, number 4 is research. I've told you guys this so many times, it's really important to do your research. Doing your research is going to let you know what fish are compatible with other fish. The same goes for corals and inverts, but it also applies to any equipment that you might be interested in purchasing it. You want to make sure that it's going to fit well with your tank, it's going to fit in your tank, and is going to be something that you actually need. Sometimes people will overstock their tank and not have enough filtration, or on the flip side, they can have way too much filtration and have water that is just super clean, more so than the species they're being kept prefer. All right. Number 3 is overfeeding. I gotta say, I feel like this is something that a lot of us have been guilty of at least one point or another, and it's really easy for it to happen. You walk by the tank, the fish gets excited, it swims up to you, and you're like, oh, I wanna feed it. Then you walk by again a little bit later, same thing happens. Well, the fish have now learned that behavior, so each time you walk by, you're adding a little bit more food, and next thing you know, you have a problem with really high nutrients in your tank. So, best thing to do, again, if you've done your research, you're gonna know how much your fish needs to eat each day. Try and stick to that. There are species of fish like damsels and some butterflies or even tangs that are gonna graze and pick at food throughout the day, but not all species of fish are like that. Again, referencing some of those puffer fish and some of those triggerfish that eat a lot of big meaty foods, they don't need to eat multiple times a day, so you probably shouldn't be feeding them multiple times a day. Gonna help save you a headache of having to do a lot of cleaning and just help to keep your fish healthier. All right, number 2 when it comes to commonly made mistakes, and that is forgetting to turn off your RO. I gotta say, I'm super guilty of this. It happens all the time. Now, you can have a big trash can, one of those brute 30-gallon trash cans, and one of the good things to do is install a float valve. So that way, when it's filled up, that valve turns off your RO unit and you don't have an overflow. You can do the same thing on 5-gallon buckets, but if you have any of those jugs, it's kind of hard to plumb those. So go ahead and set yourself a timer on your phone, maybe 2 or even 3, just in case. That's going to help prevent any of those water spills from ruining your floors. All right, the most commonly made mistake that I've seen in Aquarists, and again, something that I'm guilty of too, is not having enough patience. We have these mini ocean ecosystems in our homes, and we want instantaneous gratification, but that's not necessarily the case. You think about the wild oceans and the reefs on there, those didn't just happen at the snap of a finger, it didn't occur overnight. It takes time for things to grow, for corals to grow and color up, and it also takes time for problems to occur, say a buildup of nutrients that's going to cause excess algae. So when you're dealing with those sort of things, have patience. It's not going to fix itself overnight, just like your tank is not going to cycle in a day and a half. All right, let me know if I have included any of your commonly made mistakes in this video. If there's something you think I should have included, leave a comment and tell me below. This has been Hilary for Waterlogged on behalf of saltwateraquarium.com. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time.